Yeah. We got a whole bunch of.
We're here to shoot a podcast.
Look, last night was crazy. So, I can't remember everything. I can't remember
what to do right now.
No. Yeah. I don't know. Who is everybody here? I mean, I made it here on time. Yes, thank you for that. So let me, so as far as like you, now I'm going to put you on blast a little bit. You were trying to shoot some hoops on a video a while back. You're trying to shoot some hoops in a video. I didn't, is that in your skill set? Is that something that you follow basketball? Or?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, but for one, I did. I made it.
You couldn't really see if you made one of them.
No, yeah, you can see one of them. I made one of them. Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, we bought a property and then had a basketball goal, and I was like, I got a basketball on my car. Let me just record.
Oh, dude, that's the perfect thing. Yeah. See, that's the perks of being an investor. When you buy homes with basketball hoops, you can,
play basketball.
Why didn't you invite everybody else? I mean,
well, it was kind of like a rinky-dinky goal, so like,
oh yeah, okay,
made it work. But yeah, no, I followed basketball my whole life, basically. Like I've been watching Louisville forever.
Okay,
so and then it turned into NBA, and then I had favorites.
So. That does make sense. But I just thought that was super fun. I was like, man, I was going to climb them because I was like, oh my God, I never got a chance to like talk to you about any of that. I was like, I couldn't even see if you make the shot. I was like, okay.
I'll show you. I made the shot.
Or see, here's what you could have did. So next time when you want to shoot, I'm just going to edit the swish. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you start off, you know what I'm saying? Perfect form.
Oh,
and you shot an air ball, but the editing magic made it look like it was a switch.
And then you just put on repeat and swish.
And then just put it in repeat. And then you just like, okay, hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars if I miss a shot. And then just start sinking them.
Yeah.
And then sinking them.
And then force you to pay me for every single shot that I make.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm raising money for X charity. If I miss a shot, I'll donate. But if I make it, you have to.
Milton will donate it.
Milton. I'm Milton Ali.
I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we want to welcome you to the Investor Tribe podcast.
Y'all. Invest the tribe, y'all. Let's go.
Here's our guest today, Slava Furs, who's also a basketball pro, semi-pro, avid follower, real estate extraordinaire.
You said pro.
I don't know.
You said pro. You gave him a whole career. You gave him a whole career. He probably makes more than some of the players.
Probably.
So Slava here is a guy that I admire, okay? He is a realtor, first of all. So we share that in common. Super great guy. Dog owner, we're pro dog. This is a pro dog show. Cats don't exist. He's also a real estate investor. And he also is the CEO of Mission Impact Group, which is on pace to do $40 million. And so we're going to learn from an extraordinary guy today. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
So sweet, man. So what we wanted to do is, so we're going to ask kind of like two questions here. The first one would be, how did you even get started? How did you get started? Were you so the basketball career didn't work out and you just said, I'm going to go ahead and just do that?
Well, actually, I played football.
Okay. All right. There you go.
More often than I played basketball.
Okay.
But I was 20 years old and I was a store manager at Foot Locker, actually.
Shout out to Foot Locker.
Yeah. I was at Foot Locker. I loved shoes. I became a store manager. I was 20 years old. I thought, I envisioned being a store manager because I saw my managers drive certain cars. I'm like, yeah, I want to be a manager.
Did you store it away J's for your fines?
Yeah, of course. Okay. We all did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
we all did that.
I did not like that.
Slide a little
because I didn't have friends that were a manager at Foot Locker, so I kind of hated that.
No, yeah, it's in the game. They've actually taken that out a little bit now, but I started out as a store
Foot Locker is
manager.
not a sponsor. I think we get our direction from our director that officially Foot Locker is not a sponsor. We're just here and telling them the story. Maybe another disclaimer too: cats do exist. We don't want to piss off all of our cat owners. We just happen to buy a lot of those houses that have sometimes old ladies and cats. If we buy those houses, we fix them up and sell them back out there. But cats do exist. We don't want to. We're not going to argue the existence of cats. We know they're out there. We may just not own them or want to pet them or be real friendly with them if they even come around us. But
I like the cats that act like dogs. You know,
There are some gully cats out there that really like, oh my gosh.
yeah,
That's
they're-
a whole nother
they
conversation.
act like a dog,
Yes.
and I'm cool with those cats.
And so, so pets do have a role in the whole investor journey because it's like they are part of the thing. But you were at a shoe retailer and you were in the kicks. We can have the kick conversation.
Yes, 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yeah.
So you were doing that, and then
I realized that working on a salary was not for me. And I would work 40, 50, 60, 70 hours and get the same paycheck. So I was like, this is stupid for me. Right.
Okay.
So my cousin, who's also my partner and my GC now, he was in real estate. He got in when he was 19. He was like, Slava, you work good with people. You should do it. You could have a career in this. I looked into it. I started YouTube and I started researching. I looked up what is the average annual salary for a realtor. And I saw the money on there. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do it. So I made the mistake to quit my job before I got licensed. And then I became an Uber driver.
you did that too.
What, Uber?
Well, yes, I did that too.
Yeah, I quit.
So literally,
Before
I
I
quit my job before I was licensed.
yeah.
And I ended up doing Uber for a short period of time. And so this is interesting. So
I had to do it. I did it for a year, and I was doing Uber and Lyft during the time that they were giving like these really cool bonuses to drivers, which apparently they don't do anymore. And that funded me day by day. People say they live paycheck by paycheck. I was living day by day. So it was tough, like especially during the schooling where I was making no income as a realtor. Then I became licensed and joined a brokerage that I don't think really had my vision for how I wanted to pick up clients.
Yeah.
And then I joined Keller Williams and I joined a team and things took off for my life.
And for those out there that may not be familiar, what's the difference between a realtor and an agent?
Yes. So a realtor is someone that is an agent through NAR. Not everyone that's a real estate agent can be a realtor. So we're a part of a membership. We're a part of a board. So here locally, we're part of the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors, which also is a part of a national association called the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah. And we use, and for purposes of this conversation, we use agent and realtor interchangeably.
Yes.
Yeah, we use that.
We can.
interchangeably. We can, right? So we use them interchangeably, and that's just kind of how we articulate the roles here. So for the kids at home, so it's perfectly fine. So you got with a sick click and you went all out, like in Cream, like you just you just started making the money, and it was just definitely doing your thing. And so you went from retail, then you were hustling day to day. You became a realtor, and so where does that journey go from being a realtor to deciding was investing in the mix in the beginning, or did it come later?
So my second deal ever as an agent was I got a realtor.com lead. It was a $7,000 land deal. And a lot of realtors won't call that, right? But I called. They didn't really care about the land. They just were like, oh, why is this so cheap? And they just turned into a big multifamily investor of mine. And they were buying investments, and they bought a property for this price. I saw what they were renting for, and I'm like, this is free money. And that was my second deal ever, and I was 21. And I'm like, dang, this is cool. I want to do this. So it was right away in my mind and my started to rewire my brain about how money works. And I started learning more and reading more and researching more. So right away, 21 years old with no money, second deal ever. I was like, yeah, I want to invest soon. And then 2-3 years down the line, I'm making a lot of money. I'm saving a lot of money, but it's sitting in my bank account. And my cousin, my partner, is just like, we need to do this. And I bought my first property at 24, 3 years into the game. And luckily, it was an Airbnb.
Sweet.
So tell us about that. How did you decide on an Airbnb? Was existing Airbnb? Benefits and drawbacks of short-term rentals. Let's call them short-term
Yeah,
rentals.
STRs.
Or STR.
STRs. Okay, yeah.
Rather than a particular, website or platform, but that's a common name too. People.
Sure. So we bought the property initially with the idea to flip it. When we ran our numbers, we're like, okay, we're going to flip it and sell it. Then I was like, well, it's pretty close to Churchill Downs, and we can make money on Derby. Not giving any consideration to all the other times and events that I can make money on. And I was just like, we can make money on Derby. Let's do it. So we bought the property. 4 months in, we're like, okay, we're going to make it an Airbnb. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to slap it on Airbnb and VRBO and like, okay, let's make money. No. Louisville, even at that time, has some strict regulations on
Short-term rentals. And so I do remember that time because we were helping a lot of our clients at the time get the necessary permits. And so in Louisville, Kentucky, where this is being shot, there are some rules and some permitting that has to be done. Check your local city for that type of information. But here we had to go through a conditional use permitting process, and that became increasingly more difficult, I would imagine.
It did, because at first there wasn't any restrictions. So the rule is within a proximity basis, there can't be more than one registered conditional use permit being used as short-term rental within a 600-foot radius.
That's correct.
So you could imagine in areas where, for one, homes are pretty close together, and two, where it's a target for a lot of tourists like Churchill Downs, like Nulu, like Highlands. As soon as one property becomes a registered short-term rental through a conditional use permit, it knocks out like 50 homes.
It does. And so you went from there, and did you have an exit strategy, or you overcame that short-term that you were able to get the conditional use permit, I would imagine?
Yes, I did. So on my first property, I didn't have an exit strategy because I didn't even know that it was going to be a process.
Okay.
Luckily, though, this was before. So I bought my first Airbnb in Beachmont, which is a
amazing neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky.
I love Beachmont.
Yes.
I love
I love it.
It's a gem in the south end of Louisville. Like, I love Beachmont. I can go into many reasons why, but I bought it there before a lot of craze came into, like, a lot of hype came into Beachmont, because now it's kind of blowing up.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So there weren't any within 600 feet. So I was lucky. So it got approved. And pros and cons, I mean, honestly, I can't think of too many cons. The pros is I'm getting, on that one property, I'm getting $65,000 in annual revenue, compared to where if I make it a long-term rental, I'll maybe make 20 grand. And the net on it, even with the mortgage, I'm netting probably a 60% margin on it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so that was the, you know what, I'm hooked now. Let's go. Or was there still more yet to come?
No, that was the, I need to buy more of these.
Okay. Awesome.
I started just skip tracing and just buying just random stuff. Like I love wholesalers. I buy properties from wholesalers today. Right now, I'm buying one on Friday. So I love wholesalers. I'll use wholesalers whenever they present good deals. But I was like, look, I need something with a lot of margin, because what I was doing at that time was burring, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So I wanted to not only keep the property, but I also wanted the benefit of flipping it too and get some money back. So the second house I bought was in Beachmont as well, and it was a 6-bedroom house with a pool. Ooh. That turned into an Airbnb. Ooh. And that's making around $90,000 in annual revenue. And I got that for 110, put 60 into it, and it appraised at 290, and I got an 80% cash out refi on it. So
It's off to the races now.
saw both of those two deals were off market and not from a wholesaler. I sourced them myself. So, and I have a lot more learning to do when it comes to what wholesalers do and what these top successful wholesalers do. Like, they're killing it, and I need to get on their game. But I mean, as someone that never did it before, like, I just called random people and I got it done. So, but yeah, it went off to the races. Now we have 4 Airbnbs and then others that are just like long-term rentals.
And then, so you talk about that being your second deal, and you want to learn the wholesaler. You know, there's some efficient wholesalers, some guys and gals who make some good money, but they're not buying that second house you just mentioned. They're not buying that and getting the residual $90,000 a year income. So they may be watching this podcast thinking, "I do what Slava's doing." And you may not. You know, there's benefits and drawbacks to each strategy. And yes, some of the wholesalers do make a chunk of money on certain deals. That's gone. You know, it's
Whatever they do with it.
It's some of them are spinning it back into the business or buying more leads to get more deals. And I've known some wholesalers that you know, manage the money well, run like a business and put some back. A lot of investors I know, it's paycheck to paycheck, deal to deal.
Yes.
And not, you know, not most of them aren't in a real good position, but they're trying to build up some experience, build up some money to sock away some money before they can buy the deals like you're doing now.
Yeah, and like, as a wholesaler, you're going to make your money and keep it, right? Like, I mean, of course, reinvest. You know, you got to buy more leads, whatever. But I think what's really important, wholesaler or not, just as an investor in general, you got to know how to underwrite your deals and know your numbers. Because for me now, it's like I have it all in a spreadsheet. I just auto input the numbers and it spits out yes or no. But that was based off experience and based off of my own thoughts and problems and losses that I've had with properties. So I think that's the most important thing is like, I know like, hey, if I'm going to make at least a 20% margin on this rental property as a long-term rental, cool. It's a win for me. But some people might not have those same numbers, right? So you just got to know your numbers and know what you're able to deal with.
What does that look like?
As far as
knowing your numbers. So when you think, okay, I have to know my numbers.
Yeah.
What numbers do you have to know?
So you have to know what you're going to buy the property for, right? Like that's the most important thing. You make your money when you buy, right? So you got to know what you are going to pay for it. So you got to know what you're going to buy it for. You have to know what it's going to cost to renovate it to get it into its after renovated value or after repaired value. So that's where having a realtor is so important, is because that after renovated value is where we come into play. Sure, you can go on Zillow and, you know, find, I have investors that'll do that, but nothing beats getting on the MLS, just like an appraiser would, going back 6 months, so staying within an area, knowing with what areas to stay in, and determining, hey, this property three streets down sold for this much. It was completely renovated. It has the same bedrooms, square footage, everything. Okay. So now I know that my property is going to sell for this when I put in this much into it, so I can pay this for it. And you have a max on how much you're willing to spend to meet the numbers that you're looking to meet, this gross spread that you're trying to obtain. So the numbers are, what are you going to pay? How much is it going to cost to fix to get it into this price?
That's awesome. And so what are some early resources that you were using? What were they, books? Did you have mentors? Who was in, like, I know that there was a journey, and I know you had someone that was in your life. And so can you speak to that? Was there resources? Were there mentors?
Yeah. So my partner, his name is Eddie. He was with me along the whole journey. Everything we own right now is 50-50. Like we're owners of it. So I think having someone that had the same goal and had the same mentality, but didn't have the experience was also very helpful, because it put two minds into the deal. And the way he thinks is completely different from the way that I think. So he wasn't really a mentor, but resources were hard money lenders. I got lucky with a guy, like he wasn't even a hard money lender. He was just a listing agent on a property. I called one day and submitted an offer for a client, and he was like, yeah, it's too low. And I was like, yeah, that's the most you can do. And he was like, well, if it's an extra 20 grand, I can lend it. I was like, okay. So then I call him back like a week later, and I'm like, hey, so do you loan money for properties? I knew what a hard money lender was, but I never heard of that. And he was like, yeah. Like I got a bunch of money that's just sitting around building cobwebs. So, if you get a good deal, just let me know. And that was my first deal. He financed it. We had $50,000 and the property was 87 grand. He gave us 37. So that was like my introduction to the resource of. He wasn't a hard money lender. He was a private money lender. He gave us like a 6% interest rate. That was his first private money deal too. 6% interest rate, no origination fee. We got super lucky.
So that was definitely amazing. And so what would you think would be in your career? What would you advise someone who wants to get started tomorrow? Someone calls you or someone walks up to you and says, Slava, I want to become a real estate investor tomorrow.
What do I do?
What do you do?
So I ask, what is your goal? So if your goal is to buy a property, flip it, and get some liquid cash, then that'll be a different answer. But they say, hey, I want long term. Like, I want this to be my retirement. I want to buy rentals. I want to buy midterm rentals, short-term rentals, whatever. I want to have equity. I want to have a portfolio. Then that's a different pathway too. If someone wants to go the route of a flip, then that's where I start introducing hard money lenders. How much do you want to make on your first deal? I'll ask a lot more questions. So how do you want to fund it? How much do you want to make? What areas do you want to stay in? How much experience do you have? What do you know? Because they don't have any experience. They don't know what to make. They don't know how they're going to fund it. Then I know I have to give them everything. So that's where I'll give them different hard money lender connections. That's where I'll step in and say, how much do you want to make? What are your certain margins? So then I know what properties to send them. So I think it's all about asking the right questions and what goal they have with investing. And then, of course, if they want to do long-term investing, I'll start getting into how much do you want to make per month? Or do you want to just not lose anything? Or what's the goal?
Oh, hey, Drew. Hey, can you cut a check for us? We need to pay some bills. Welcome to INB Tribe on YouTube.
Smack it.
Oh my gosh, he's absolutely right. Subscribe to us on YouTube at INB Tribe.
That's right. You just do it. Do it now. Don't make me smack him again.
Right, please. And we're back. And so what we wanted to do was, Slava, can you give us any other pieces of advice for investors that want to get involved and get started? To, again, someone doesn't know anything.
Well, specifically maybe about the Airbnb, to run your numbers. Are there any resources you use?
Yeah.
Websites, calculators, anything that helps you, feel confident in your numbers?
For sure. So one thing I use is we need to know how much a property can possibly make. So with Airbnb is given that you're going to have cleaning and your utility bills are going to be on you, right? So like your expenses are a little bit higher than a general long-term rental. So we need to make sure that we have a comfortable spread. And with that, we need to know how much it's going to make. So I use a website called data.rabu, and it evaluates properties within a certain proximity of the subject property that I want to purchase. And you can even filter out by certain amenities that my property will have. So I bought a house in Nulu that's an Airbnb, and I was filtering out by properties that only had, well, not only, but had a hot tub, because I was going to have a hot tub.
Oh, yeah.
So it literally popped up Airbnbs with hot tubs only. And I was like, okay, so I can gross around this much. I can be conservative and say I can gross around this much. And funny enough, it's been pretty accurate.
That is brilliant, because being able to have those types of numbers and have information, that level of intelligence is going to help you. Now, what has been, say, what would you consider to be one of your biggest successes?
In investing or just
Investment. Yeah, investing.
it's really been the Airbnbs. Like we're giving numbers to our CPA now, and it's a lot of money that
That's encouraging.
we're making. And now here's the thing. This is, I guess, something that a lot of people don't hear about investors or investments. It's like, I'm in a scale operation. So I am trying to buy as much as I can. And I'm also reinvesting my money. So every year, and we usually generalize it around Derby time, I'll look at all of my properties and say, what is the biggest thing that we can do to improve this house? So like I have to go through ductwork and HVAC in a second floor in a house. Then I have to do big like landscaping projects. So we reinvest our money. And then also, because we're scaling and we're still using hard money lenders, but hiccups happen in projects all the time. We have 4 that we're doing right now at the same time. And we just had a big hiccup happen. And of course we have hard money, but there's also now unexpected expenses that we have to come up with. And we're using this money that we're generating every month from our revenue from our Airbnbs to fund hiccups and other projects. So like when you're in a scale operation as an investor, people will view you like, oh, money man. But it's like when you're scaling and you're putting in a lot of money into these projects, it's like, yes, on paper, it looks phenomenal. But liquidity is really tough when you're keeping all of your money in the equity and in the house, and you're not doing cash out refis anymore, because I don't do cash out refis anymore. Cash out refinances can get really technical when you're trying to create the process. Fannie and Freddie has a guideline where you cannot do a cash out refinance on a property until you've owned it for 6 months.
That's called seasoning.
It's called a seasoning period with banks, essentially, or just Fannie Freddie guidelines.
Correct, yes.
Which is a mainstream banking, right? And we can't do that because we turn properties in 2 months. So then it'll sit for 4 months, right? Or we're paying this crazy interest for 4 months. Right. So we do rate and term financing now. So we'll just finance what we owe, and then we're able to get it done fast.
That's great.
But that eliminates cash out refis. So this liquidity that we're looking for, we cannot obtain with some of these STRs and LTRs.
That makes sense. And what has been the biggest lesson you would say you've learned in your real estate investing journey?
Yeah, I think I'm learning it now. And I don't think you need to put all of your eggs into one basket in terms of real estate investing, because I think there's really 3 main ways to invest in real estate right now. You can do when it comes to keeping them, not flipping them.
Right.
You can do short-term, mid-term, long-term. That's with renting. And then you can flip the properties and exit and get some liquidity. I was putting everything into these 3, just long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, short-term rentals. And I wasn't doing cash out refinances anymore because I wanted to scale fast and get a big portfolio. That was like my net worth is great right now. It's phenomenal. Right. But when you focus all of this and you put all your money into this and you don't take anything out, then your liquid cash comes down. So going forward, if I could turn back on the time, I would mix in a little bit more of the flips, and maybe even instead of keeping some of these long-term rentals, I probably would have sold them, because like some of the long-term rentals I obtained, I may be making like $600-700 gross on it, which is cool on a single family. That's amazing. But man, I could have flipped it and made $70,000-80,000
And reinvested that, doing something else, and reinvested that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, I think, my mistake, is I didn't flip as many properties as I should have starting out.
Okay, that does make sense. And so it is. So what we wanted to do was thank you so much for hanging out with us. A lot of gems were given today. And we just want to, and you're welcome to come back anytime.
For sure.
We may have to get on the hoop together. We may have to,
let's
you
do
know,
that.
do some, see that we can have some real fun,
Yeah.
shoot some hoops, you know what I'm saying? And so that'll be, so next time you buy a house with a hoop, you're going to have to like, maybe put it on social media or something like that.
I'm gonna call both of y'all. we can podcast there.
Oh my gosh, it'll be the investor hoops.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
That's our new pod. So
Yeah. Go ahead and lock up that domain now. Go ahead.
I know, right?
Put on that dude.com.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? So this is cool. So, you know, I'm Milton Ali,
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
and we'll catch you on the flip side of the Investor Tribe.
The Investor Tribe podcast is a production of the Investor Tribe. To learn more, visit invtribe.com.